Horace Alexander. My mom, my sweetest friend. My mom, my sweetest friend, Horace Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. We do not get to choose what families we are born into or what parents we're born to. But in the great lottery of life, I was a lucky winner. My parents were Garnet and Joyce Alexander. And tonight I'm here to pay tribute to my mother, Joyce Alexandra Alexander, a beautiful lady. Now, my father argued that since her maiden name was Alexandra and his last name was Alexander, that it was therefore predestined that they should marry. And so here I am, their firstborn. And my mother not only gave me life, but she showed me how to live. First, her youthful years were an inspiration to me in my youthful years. At the age of 18, she was enough of a leader to be elected the elder of her local church. And after that, she defied her immediate family and the church family and traveled across the island of Jamaica from her rural town to college because for a college education. Now, without any support at all from her family or from her church folks, she worked her way through college to pay for her room and board and tuition. And to do this, she did a number of menial jobs. Now, at that time in Jamaica, the class distinctions were very pronounced. And for her to do menial jobs like that was frowned upon. However, it was at West Indies College where she met and married my father, and it was where she was trained as a teacher. And from her youthful years, I learned the dignity of labor. And I learned the relentless pursuit of worthwhile goals. Her upbeat personality and her positive outlook earned her the nickname among her college classmates of Sunshine. And so years later, when I met any of her friends, if they called her Sunshine, I knew immediately that these were classmates from way back. She was also a very good speaker, and she was my dad's speech coach. Now, he was a local politician, and I can guarantee you he would not have been as successful as he was had she not been his speech coach. Now, my first experience in facing an audience came when my mom and I sang a Now, I was just a wee lad, and I was standing there beside her on the platform, and I was shaking like a leaf. She put her arm around my waist and pulled me closer to her, and I put my arm around her waist, and arm in arm, we sang that duet together. And from that first beginning, I've faced many an audience. Now, she could also coach on interpersonal relationships, and I appreciated that very much because during my teenage years, as a young man anxious to know whether or not I had any influence with the opposite sex, she would counsel to me and say that the overtures that I made to my female friends could be taken very seriously by them and that I could break someone's heart. And therefore, that's a consideration that I should take seriously. On another occasion, she gave me a great big hug, and Mom's hugs were just heartwarming. To me, that was a noble thing for you to do. Now, to this day, I cannot recall what that noble thing was that I did, but the fact that she held me in such high regard had me live up to that image of myself that she had of me, and went a long ways to making me the man that I am today. One of my recent compliments that I received from my wife, which I treasure, is that she says she sees a lot of my mom in me. Now, my mom was also an educator par excellence. She and my father founded a private school to give access to students who were not successful in the government program. And she had a way of having students discover the joy of learning and the thrill of discovery. She saw extraordinary possibilities in ordinary people. Have told me over the years that she has helped them to fill out application forms for college And she has even paid their application fees to get them into college because she saw possibilities in them that they never saw in themselves. Now, one significant thing that impacted my life was that she had absolute confidence in me. Now, my father, when he drove a little too fast, she would caution him, slow down. But whenever I was driving, she never, ever did that. And yet I drove, looking back on it, real crazy in those days, but she never said a word. Now, one day I was taking her home from work, and the rain had fallen that day, and there were puddles over the road here and there. And so I just drove through the puddles and watched the spray along the side of the cars and enjoying myself. And then, oh, by the way, that car was an old Ford with a manual transmission, 4 on the floor, and the housing around the base of the gear lever had worn away, and so there's a big hole there. You could look down through that hole and see the road. And here I am, and I'm driving along, and I see a larger than average puddle. So I revved up that car and I charged into it. And my goodness, a geyser of water came up into the car, shot up to the ceiling, and soaked my poor mom from head to toe. And I looked over at her, totally horrified at what I'd done to my poor mom. And she was laughing her head off. That was the kind of person that she was, that she always saw the humor in any situation. And of all men, I am doubly blessed because of my mom, my sweetest friend. Mr. Toastmaster,